I'm Max Pardo-Rokes, part of the delivery team for the Productive General Practice Quick Start programme. I'm talking to you now about appropriate appointments module, a module which links very well with 2 of the 10 high impact actions, specifically productive workflows and also the developing of quality improvement expertise within general practice. So appropriate appointments, why is this module and what's it about? At its core, it's about making sure that the appointments that you as GPs see are appropriate for you to see and may not be the kind of appointments that could be dealt with elsewhere. National data suggests that something around 27% of all appointments are considered to be inappropriate. And this module is trying to look at what's the inappropriateness in your practice. How many of your patients or your appointments would you consider to fall into that inappropriate category? Once we have that kind of data from you, which we use some fairly simple data collection techniques, we then start to look at, well, actually, what changes as a practice would you like to make that's going to significantly change the way that you operate and hopefully mean that the number of inappropriate appointments that go through are reduced. So with appropriate appointments, we'll be asking you as either GPs, nurses, or other members of the clinical team to review the patients that you've seen in the sense of the appropriateness of that appointment. So there'll be a few options there. Those options are usually around, was I the right person to see that patient today, or could they have been better dealt with by another member of the clinical team? Could they have been better dealt with by a telephone consultation? Or actually, could their query have been dealt with by a reception or admin person? Or should they even have seen somebody outside of the practice, a pharmacist, etc.? Once we have that data, when we still commonly see around 27%, is probably an average figure that we would expect to see. Once we have that data, we can then start to look at how we represent that back to you as a practice for you to make decisions and actions on. We start to look in real detail at the outcomes from your practice data. We also run a simulation. Once we've completed the simulation and once we've collected the data with you and your practice, we then start to hold an MDT session where we actually look at understanding what that data tells us. And what we can commonly see there is that we will understand perhaps some of the reasons behind why we have those inappropriate appointments. We might be looking at a couple of different areas. Perhaps it's skill mix, perhaps we need to change the way that we're doing signposting, perhaps we need to develop new ways of working or consider some patient education or even our internal systems. Once we have made those decisions and those considerations, we'll start to have a look at what we can actually change in the practice. And this is where the genuine outcome from this module starts to filter through, because you should be making those changes which will lead to a reduction in the inappropriateness of the appointments that you may have in the practice. Once we've reduced those inappropriate appointments, the idea is that you can continue to do this module, continue to focus on this area and constantly be reviewing those patients who are turning up when perhaps they should be otherwise be seen by other members of staff or other areas of the health service, to continue to make those changes so that the pressure constantly reduces on the practice. Appropriate appointments has 3 key areas to the module in the way that we work with you. So first is the prep, and as with all the modules, this is around briefing the staff and gathering the data. I've already mentioned to you that the data collection is reasonably simple for this module. And then we get into the do. So we're going to do a little bit of a simulation with you first, based on some dummy data, dummy patients, but then we'll actually start to analyse your patients in your practice and the data that we've gathered with you. And then finally, we're going to start to put those actions into place. And any of those actions which we're able to support you with actually implementing while we're working with you in the practice, we will do so.